Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about one of the most controversial and mysterious stories of World War II, the death and disposal of Adolf Hitler's remains. According to the official narrative, Hitler and his new wife Eva Braun died on April 30th, 1945, in the bunker beneath the Reich Chancellery in Berlin. But the details surrounding those final hours and what happened to their bodies remain oddly tangled and confusing. What really makes this topic so gripping is that many of the accounts from within the bunker contradict one another, leading some people to question whether the official version is entirely accurate. Even Soviet reports from the time show signs of confusion and secrecy, which only deepened the mystery. To this day, the conflicting testimony fuels countless documentaries, books, and debates about what truly happened in those last hours. The official story goes that, with Soviet troops closing in, Hitler shot himself while Eva Braun ingested cyanide. Their loyal SS guards then carried the bodies outside, placed them in a shell crater, poured petrol over them, and set them ablaze. This was meant to ensure that enemy forces could never use Hitler's remains for propaganda or spectacle. Reports from SS witnesses said that the bodies were burned beyond recognition. However, conflicting witness statements and rapidly changing stories would cast doubt on these events from the start. Some testimonies sounded rehearsed or contradictory, and Stalin himself fueled the uncertainty by claiming Hitler might have escaped. In many ways, these gaps and inconsistencies gave rise to the very rumors the Soviets were trying to suppress. Every incongruity in the story seemed to ignite a new theory, and the deeper people looked, the more the lines between fact and speculation blurred. On May 4, 1945, Soviet forces arrived at the Reich Chancellery and questioned the bunker's survivors until they admitted where the bodies could be found. 2 badly burned corpses were exhumed and taken to a pathology lab for further examination. By May 11th, a Soviet dentist declared that these remains belonged to Hitler and Braun, identifying Hitler's jaw and bridges based on a dental chart that Hitler's dentist's assistant apparently recalled from memory. The secrecy surrounding this investigation was intense. The Soviets kept the findings locked away until 1968, which naturally fueled conspiracy theories, suggesting that Hitler might have fled Berlin or even Germany altogether. After confirming the remains as Hitler and Braun, the Soviets buried them in a forest near a place called Raphael in June 1945. However, this was not their final resting place. In March 1946, the Soviet authorities dug the bodies up and reburied them under a dustbin area at a Soviet-occupied house in Magdeburg. Alongside Hitler and Braun were also the remains of Joseph Goebbels, his wife, their 6 children, and Hitler's dog, Blondie. The motive behind these discreet reburials seemed to be the desire to keep the bodies hidden and prevent any shrine or memorial site that could inspire Nazi sympathizers. It was a grim process, repeated multiple times, reflecting just how much fear and superstition surrounded Hitler's final resting place. But in 1970, the KGB made a decision that would supposedly remove the problem once and for all. Concerned that neo-Nazi groups might discover the location, exhume the remains, and create a pilgrimage site, they ordered the disinterment of everything buried at Magdeburg. These remains, including Hitler's, were completely cremated. The ashes were then scattered into the river Eile. By doing so, the Soviets believed they had eradicated any physical trace that could be turned into a symbol or rallying point for future neo-Nazis. Still, this dramatic ending could not put the conspiracy theories to rest. Decades later, researchers examining a skull fragment in Russian archives discovered it belonged to a woman, sparking renewed debate. Some saw it as more proof the Soviets had mishandled the investigation. Others pointed out that Hitler's jaw and dental bridge, still held in Moscow, remain the best evidence of his death. These lingering doubts and twists continue to fascinate historians and intrigue the public alike. Despite what might seem like conclusive evidence, the secrecy and confusion surrounding Hitler's death only intensified after the collapse of the Soviet Union. A piece of a skull the Soviets had put on display, believing it to be Hitler's, underwent DNA testing that revealed it was from a younger woman. This discovery reignited debate over how reliable the Soviet forensic examinations had actually been. On the other hand, a fragment of Hitler's jaw and dental bridge remains preserved in Russian archives. Many experts still regard those dental records as the strongest physical proof that Hitler indeed died in the bunker. However, the conflicting evidence continues to fuel speculation and debate among historians and researchers. The ongoing analysis of historical documents and physical evidence keeps the mystery alive, demonstrating the complexities of unraveling such a significant historical event. The final days in the bunker remain a subject of intense scrutiny, with historians piecing together accounts from witnesses and analyzing every shred of available evidence. Today, the site of the infamous bunker bears little resemblance to its historical significance, yet it remains a focal point for those seeking to understand Hitler's final moments. The chaos of Berlin's fall in 1945 added to the difficulty of establishing a definitive account of Hitler's demise, leaving room for continued speculation despite official reports and eyewitness accounts. All of these circumstances, the frantic chaos of Berlin's final days, the inconsistent eyewitness statements, Soviet secrecy, and the surprising revelation about the skull fragment, keep the door open to conspiracy theories. Stories emerged that Hitler might have fled Berlin and escaped to South America, or that he used doubles to fake his death. Although the mainstream historical consensus agrees that Hitler died on April 30th, 1945, the patchy evidence and confusing timeline mean that questions have never been fully silenced. So what does this all mean for our understanding of those final days? The repeated exhumations and reburials indicate just how terrified the authorities were of allowing Hitler's remains to become a rallying symbol. Between Stalin's reluctance to confirm Hitler's death, the KGB's final act of total cremation, and the discovery that the so-called Hitler skull was actually from someone else, we are left with a sense that this is a historical event wrapped in confusion. Even now, decades later, the prevailing consensus is that Hitler died in the bunker as described, but the missing physical evidence and contradictory statements have continued to keep the rumor mill alive. In the end, it all speaks to the power of symbols in history. Even in death, Hitler's remains were moved repeatedly, destroyed, and partially preserved, all to prevent them from becoming a focal point for neo-Nazis or other extremist groups. The secrecy, mistakes, and half-truths have, ironically, made the subject even more popular with conspiracy theorists. If you want a definitive, unquestionable answer, you won't find it in the official records alone, and that's precisely why many people remain unconvinced to this day. Thank you for joining me in this exploration of one of the Second World War's most enduring mysteries. If you found this topic interesting, go ahead and leave a comment below with your thoughts on whether you believe the official story or suspect there might be more to it. Be sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more deep dives into history's enigmas. I appreciate your support and look forward to seeing you in the next video.